Remember when Rod Stewart wore short shorts?
That's in.
Let's go back.
Tamagotchi,
Of Y2K.
The year is 1978, and what is the word? Grease is the word. The Trapper Keeper and Cabbage Patch dolls hit store shelves. A cat who loves lasagna makes his comic strip debut. And Roman Polanski flees to France hours before being sentenced on charges against a minor. On a totally unrelated note, Woody Allen cleans up at the Oscars with his film Annie Hall.
Is Annie Hall, Charles H. Joffrey.
Everyone's watching Three's Company and Laverne and Shirley, while nobody's watching the Star Wars Holiday Special. And on May 3rd, families gather around their televisions to see the best and brightest in music do what they do best: compete in athletic competition. You may remember or have heard of Battle of the Network Stars. This was a show where television stars from ABC, CBS, and NBC competed against one another in sporting events for ultimate television supremacy, and they were very popular. Well, to cash in on this popularity, for one time only, ABC came up with the idea to put rock stars, and I use that term loosely for some of these contestants, against one another in different physical events. Yes, sex, drugs, rock and roll, and running 100 yards. They go together like alcohol and good decisions. It's interesting to look back on this little time capsule from the 1970s, as many of the people competing would go on to be legends in the music industry. Plus, it has the Runaways competing, and that's all I care about. So, without further ado, let's head back to the University of California campus in Irvine for the first and last Rock and Roll Sports Classic. The event is hosted by Alex Caress and Ed McMahon, and despite everyone mentioning the bands and musicians involved multiple times as if they're contractually obligated to do so, they don't do a great job of introducing who is on the East and West Coast team. Allow me to fix that. Introducing first, dressed in all blue, it's Team East. Headed up by Captain Phyllis Diller and co-captain Susan Anton, let's meet the team. They have more than a feeling they're gonna win. It's Boston! Who is that? Is it Mr. Blue Sky? No, it's the Electric Light Orchestra. They still think they're in the 50s. It's Sha-Na-Na. She's just another woman in love. It's Anne Murray. They got here on the midnight train from Georgia. It's Gladys Knight and the Pips. No, it's not a new burger from McDonald's. It's Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis. Do you feel it? It's the Alessi brothers. She's more than just a rock and roll gypsy. It's Helen Schneider. And lastly, but not least, they know all their ABCs. It's the Jacksons. And now, introducing the West team, dressed in all yellow, headed up by Captain Sandy Duncan and co-captain Barbie Benton. Introducing first, do you think he's sexy? It's Rod Stewart. Looks like we're about to enter the danger zone, because it's Kenny Loggins. I have a question for you all. Do you remember? That's right, it's Earth, Wind, and Fire. This group is a brick house. It's the Commodores. He was made for dancing, but tonight he's made for running. It's Leif Garrett. Who the hell is this guy? It's Freddie Fender. Looks like it's gonna be a Delta Dawn, because it's Tanya Tucker. They say this competition's gonna be a summer breeze. It's Seals and Croft. And lastly, certainly my favorite competing, they're about to drop a cherry bomb on the competition. It's the Runaways. Tell them what they're competing for, Alex.
The contestants are not going to be competing for money. Instead, they're going to be competing for these wonderful trophies designed by Cartier.
Really loving the energy, Alex. Alright, let's get into the action. First up is the men's 100-yard dash. Racing is Michael Jackson, William King, Hugh McDowell, Dash Crofts, Jackie Jackson, Edward Patton, Billy Davis, and Leif Garrett. Now, I haven't watched the competitions yet, but I think it's obvious here that one of the Jacksons is going to win. When your father is Joe Jackson, you need to learn how to run fast.
And they're off. Michael Jackson off to a good start, and William King. Oh, here comes Jackie Jackson up strong. Hugh McDowell, Jackie Jackson, and William King. It's Jackie Jackson, William King, and it's Jackie Jackson is the winner.
Huh? What did I say? Oh, I'm hearing that Michael Jackson was mic'd up for that race. Let's have a listen.
And they're off. Michael Jackson off to a good start. And William King.
Okay, time for the women's 100-yard dash. We got Marilyn McCoo, Joan Jett, Latoya Jackson, Leah Ford, Helen Schneider, Tanya Tucker, Anne Murray, and Sandy West. And I'm gonna go with Joan Jett.
And they're off. That is Joan Jett of the Runaways taking an early lead for the West in yellow. Tanya Tucker on the outside. Anne Murray in there strong. Here comes Sandy West of the Runaways. Anne Murray and Joan Jett. It looks like Sandy West has it.
Well, you can't win them all. More importantly than who the winner is. Who is this? What lane is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lane 5. Helen Schneider. Oh god, that's embarrassing. Moving on. We're actually going to skip through a bunch of these events because there are way too many. Let's hop on over to the men's swimming race. This is a lineup of men who could really use a cheeseburger. We've got Hugh McDowell, Ronald LaPred, Randy Jackson, Kenny Loggins, Billy Alessi, and Leif Garrett. They all have that body by cocaine look going for them. I think I'm going to go with Billy Alessi here, having no knowledge at all about who he is or if he can swim or not.
It was Ronald LaPred, but it looks like Kenny Loggins is the winner. Now the fight for second goes to Leif Garrett and Ronald LaPred.
Kenny Loggins wins. Let's find out how he prepared for the race.
Annie, what did you do to train for this?
I grew my beard.
You grew your beard.
Alright then, moving on. Now it's time for the women to compete in a bicycle race. But before the race, we get an interview with Anne Murray.
And you're Canadian, and my mom was from Pugwash, Canada.
Pugwash, that's 8 miles from where I come from.
Yeah? Is it fun up there?
It's not far from Tatamagouche or Stewiacke or Shubenacadie or any of those.
Sounds exotic.
I get the feeling Alex hasn't done a lot of traveling if he thinks Canada's exotic. Here's the lineup. Anne Murray from the exotic country of Canada, Tanya Tucker, Latoya Jackson, Joan Jett, Helen Schneider, and Vicky Blue. And of course, I'm once again picking Joan Jett, as I will for all these competitions. But honestly, I'm more interested to see how Helen Schneider does. Maybe she's better on the bike than she is on her feet.
Well, it looks like an all-West...
Oh, come on, Helen. Get your shit together.
Joan Jett and Vicky Blue taking the early lead. That is finally taking the lead. It's Joan Jett, Tanya Tucker, and Vicky Blue. It looks like an all-West win. It is. It's Joan Jett first.
Hey, Joan Jett won. Now it looks like we're going to play a game of basketball. Let's find out why they're only playing on half the court.
Incidentally, they'll be playing on a half court because both teams are a little out of shape.
Well, they didn't really sugarcoat that. Here are some incredible highlights from this basketball game.
In the middle. Back outside to Jackson. Jackson shoot. There's the drive-in. They're really messing the ball around, folks.
Over to Danny Green. Danny Green takes the shot.
In this basketball...
They've really got that Shaq at the free throw line energy going. Well, at least it can't get any worse.
Bill Cosby, would you give us a blow-by-blow?
Listen to that crowd, man.
Oh boy. I've got to say, one of the best aspects of the entire competition is the group Sha Na Na. They act and dress like they're from the 50s, having done some of the music from Grease. They're seemingly always at an 11.
I'm having a very good time here, but I am starting my own Counter Olympics to put in some events that I myself can win. Well, one thing I'm working on here is muscle flexing. Muscle flexing, this is one of my specialties. You see, you flex in, out, around, back, through, any kind of flexing. That is one that I know I am going to take. Endurance mouth opening. Do you know that one? This one is exciting.
Kim Kardashian would probably dominate that event. Speaking of Sha Na Na, we have Lenny Baker competing for the first time in the marathon walk. Let's see what the marathon walk is all about.
Lon is the bass and trumpet player and does a wonderful job for the Commodores.
Oh god, look at this race. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what rock and roll looks like. Honestly, it's probably the same strut Mick Jagger's doing on stage these days anyway. They look like those grandmas who gather at the mall early in the morning.
We've been doing this since 1989, and we're going strong.
Let's see how Lenny Baker's handling this event. Some people just aren't built for the world of competitive walking.
You want a beer?
That's gotta be the best line from this whole show. Your friend's dying on a stretcher. Hey, you want a beer? Next up, we get the first appearance of Rod Stewart. He's going one-on-one with ELO's Rich Tandy in a penalty kick contest. Rod Stewart has some words for his competitor.
He's gonna get really beat, this kid. He can't play football, can he?
Okay, first up is Rod Stewart, and he goes 8 out of 10. Rich Tandy's turn. Miss. Miss. He has to make all of them now if he wants to tie. And he missed. Well, Rod Stewart wasn't kidding. The show cuts over to Alex, who gives some incredible information about bike racing.
The ones that used to go boom, 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 these go whirl, whirl, whirl.
And with that, it's time for the men's bike race. And first up is... Hold on. That's Lenny Baker. Okay, so obviously the competitions are edited out of order. It's funny to see him here on a bike after he was just hooked up to oxygen. It's like they slapped him on the ass and were like, come on, let's get Lenny on a bike. Okay, so we have Lenny Baker, who will surely put on a performance that will make Helen Schneider proud. And they're off.
Off to an early lead is Johnny Cantardo of Shanana. Mylan Williams is trying to keep the lead. Everybody's coming up fast. Right now, Tom McClary is coming in third, and the winner is Mylan Williams.
And Mylan Williams takes home the Cartier Prize. We have a quick interview with Fran Sheehan of Boston explaining the similarities between music and sports.
I like sports a lot. I think sports and music go hand in hand because sports usually are either a team effort, and music is a team effort as well.
Well articulated, Fran. And then Larry Dunn tells us what he was thinking before competing.
It really doesn't matter. Like when I first heard about the whole thing, I didn't want to do it. You know, I just said, oh, what kind of...
Jumping ahead to the team long jump, Lionel Richie lands on his ass, and Kenny Logan puts on another good performance, but is just edged out by Marlon Jackson, who wins it. Aside from Kenny Loggins, Sandy West crushed this competition as well. She went on to win the 60-yard dash against the tiny Janet Jackson. Look how little she is. Then she went on to beat the men in a swimming race, and you'll never believe what she did to prepare.
What did you do to train for it? Nothing. Did you?
In the final event, the East and West go against each other in a tug of war. Now, the West has dominated this entire competition, so because of that, the final event is worth 125 points, because the producers needed to do something. Let's see who wins it all.
Coming down to this last event, 20 events at all. In fact, this is event number 3 in the Tug of War, and the East is slowly but surely gaining on the West. Lita Ford, Vicky Blue, and the East has got the West, Garrett in front, and there's the buzzer.
The East wins, despite losing most of the events. Way to go, guys. To put a bookend on the first and last ever rock and roll classic, this was a lot of fun to watch. Everyone seemed to be genuinely having a good time. The only weird part was the fact that they kept listing the musicians and bands involved over and over again. It's like they were contractually obligated to do so. I mean, look at this and tell me it doesn't feel forced.
A really good chance with groups like Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Commodores, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Leif Garrett, Seals and Crofts, the Runaways, Kenny Loggins, Tanya Tucker, Freddie Fender, and of course, Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart.
We've got Sha-Na-Na, the Jacksons, ELO, Boston, Marilyn McCoo, Billy Davis Jr., and Anne Murray. The East Coast is a winner all the way.
And Sandy Duncan somehow had more energy than all of Sha-Na-Na put together.
Around here talking too much. I've got my team in there warming up in the tents. I've got the Commodores, the Runaways, Last Night, the Pips, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Kenny Loggins, Tanya Tucker, Freddie Fender. We've got a wonderful hot team.
I see that you're very down for this one.
I'm down for this show. Woo!
Okay.
I think they were handing out more than just water in those tents. As much as I enjoyed this, I would have loved to see the real rock and roll sports classic. Let's get Keith Richards and Ozzy Osbourne doing a line of coke before running the 100-yard dash. Or Pink Floyd versus Grateful Dead in a bike race after taking some LSD. Now that would be incredible to watch. The two things I took away from this was that the Runaways dominated most of their competitions because there was a bit of an age difference between the other people competing. And I'll never forget the name Helen Schneider. Bless her heart for trying. Anyway, I'm off to roam the deep jungles of Canada. See you next time.
Sounds exotic.